Picture this: a man walking in broad daylight, lantern in hand, claiming he's searching for an honest man. A philosopher who made a ceramic jar his home. A thinker who mocked Plato, challenged Alexander the Great, and turned the public square into his classroom. No, this isn't a Monty Python sketch. It's the true story of Diogenes of Sinope, the most eccentric figure in ancient philosophy. A man who didn't just talk about philosophy, he lived it, loudly and unapologetically, right out in the open. Born in the thriving city of Sinope, Diogenes was exiled for defacing currency, an early example of exit through the gift shop, if you will. But did he let that setback define him? Not at all. He made his way to Athens, the hub of philosophical discourse, fully prepared to shake things up. Diogenes embraced the teachings of Antisthenes, the father of Cynicism, whose core belief was simple: virtue is the only true good, and it's enough for happiness. For Diogenes, this wasn't an idea to be explored in lecture halls. He lived it, breathed it, and embodied it. To him, life wasn't about gathering riches or gaining reputation. It was about living in harmony with nature, being wholly self-sufficient, and practicing unflinching honesty. In today's terms, he stood for minimalism, self-reliance, and absolutely no BS. So, how did he actually live this philosophy? He chose to live in Epictetus, a giant ceramic jar right in the middle of the bustling Athenian marketplace. For Diogenes, life was basic. If you need shelter, a jar will do. If you need possessions, have as few as you can. If you want entertainment, just watch people. They're hilarious. And let's not forget his legendary encounter with Alexander the Great. Imagine this: one of history's most powerful rulers stands before you and offers to fulfill any wish. Most of us would probably fantasize about wealth, power, or eternal fame. But Diogenes, he simply asked Alexander to step out of his sunlight. Now that is standing your ground. But what lessons can we, living in the 21st century, possibly draw from a man who lived in a jar 2,400 years ago? A lot more than you'd expect. First, there's the lesson of self-reliance. In today's world where we rely so heavily on outside validation for happiness, whether through social media likes, flashy gadgets, or the approval of others, reminds us that real contentment is internal. It doesn't come from having the newest iPhone. It comes from knowing who you are. Next, the lesson of radical authenticity. Diogenes was the embodiment of truth to self. He pushed back against norms, questioned authority, and lived strictly by his values. He never chased approval. He chased truth. In an age dominated by carefully crafted digital images, being authentically yourself is more than revolutionary. And finally, the liberating joy of simplicity. Diogenes needed very little: a jar for a home, simple food, and the clothes on his back. He found joy in what was natural and uncomplicated. In our culture of endless buying and constant wanting, simplicity offers real freedom. Through his bold actions and radical lifestyle, Diogenes gave us a vision of life stripped of pretense and needless complexity. He may have lived in a jar, but he wasn't trapped. He was freer than most of us could ever imagine. Free from society's expectations. Free from the endless chase for more. Free from the chains of materialism, so the next time you feel anxious about not keeping up with trends, or disheartened by a post that didn't get enough likes, remember Diogenes. Remember the man who told Alexander the Great to move. The man who turned a public square into his living room. The man who sought raw honesty in a world obsessed with illusions. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize that happiness, freedom, and truth don't come from getting more, but from needing less, and from being brutally, unapologetically, beautifully honest with the world, and most importantly, with yourself.